Richard Moore was sentenced to death in 1999 following the deadly shooting of a store clerk in Spartanburg County. ShotSpotter's accuracy helps police find bullet casings like these, which are notoriously hard to find. The Justice Evaluation Journal found that ShotSpotter aided in shell recovery more than 90% of the time nationwide. These crosswalks that you see behind me on the intersection of Assembly and Lady Street are the exact type that City Council wants to make safer. Not everyone comes here for the healing capabilities, though. Some say they want to avoid fluoride in their water, or that it's cheaper than going to the grocery store. And it tastes great.
From the University of South Carolina, your news, your sports, your weather. Carolina News begins now.
Hello and welcome to Carolina News. I'm Carly Elijah. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Carly Elijah. Welcome back to Carolina News. I'm Carly Elijah with your weather. Welcome back to Carolina News. I'm Carly Elijah with your sports. Coming up next on Carolina News, the University of South Carolina has announced their plans to erect a statue commemorating the first 3 black students to attend the university in 1963. We'll have more after the break.
The investigation into the shooting of Irvin Moore Charlie is still ongoing, and the family has filed a lawsuit against the Richland County Sheriff's Department.
Frustrations from the family stem from the fact that Moore Charlie had a mental illness. Yes, thank goodness no snow drifts to dig through over here in the Midlands. As we go into this weekend, of course, beautiful day today. As I was just telling Lee, this is one of the first true days of spring, today and yesterday. And of course, we're going to have a great weekend, almost no clouds, sunny in low 60s. But of course, Monday and Tuesday, it's going to be rainy, so make sure you pack an umbrella. Back to y'all in the studio.
Yeah, unfortunately, I did not make a bracket. I've been paying attention to basketball, but I was not in the bracket pool, so.
You guys made brackets? No one told me about that. Anyways.
South Carolinians interested in buying a home have to deal with a lot these past 2 years. Our reporter Carly Elijah investigated what's causing the high prices and competitive market.
Since the 2008 recession, there's been a lot of attention on the housing market. Anxieties grew during the COVID-19 pandemic as house prices soared, and the anxiety of inflation and rising costs had many wondering if they'll ever be able to afford a home of their own. So what's going on in the housing market right now?
In a seller's market now, so that just basically means inventory is very, very low. Homes that used to go for $200,000, you can't find homes in those price ranges anymore. For a $200,000 house 2 years ago, now you're probably going to pay close to $300,000 on up.
A seller's market can lead to bidding wars as well, which can drive up the cost of a home even higher. The solution to a seller's market is to build more homes. But those are going to be expensive too, because of the increased cost of lumber, metal, and labor. So there's not enough homes for all who want to buy one. But why?
I think part of the reason that it's such a seller's market right now is because most of the Northeast and West Coast is emptying out. If you look at the statistics, they're losing residents in those states, and the Southeast is gaining them. You've got interest rates so low that if I was going to sell my house or buy a new one, I would keep my old one and just keep it as a rental. Airbnbs are on the high demand because everybody wants to travel and get out. So again, no inventory is going back in the Southeast bucket or the South Carolina bucket, or really most of the United States bucket. So you've got this supply and demand feature that is just ungodly right now.
Because of the inflation of the US dollar and the economic impacts of the pandemic, according to a recent survey, 81% of American adults think the US economy is likely to experience a recession in 2022.
Recessions don't mean that housing goes down. Actually, house prices go up in a recession. It's the damnedest thing. So if you look it up, you will see that the last 5 recessions, the GDP goes down for 2 quarters. That's how you know you're in a recession. But pricing and buyer demand stays up. It is really, really interesting when it comes to that. So the last recession was because of housing, but the previous recessions were not because of housing.
Until new homes can be built to meet the demand of buyers, realtors say to expect prices to rise even higher. But it is very unlikely that the housing market is going to take a hit if the recession does come. For Carolina News, I'm Carly Elijah.
Realtors aren't sure how long we'll be in a seller's market, but if you're looking to buy a house, be ready for the competition.
Here at UofSC, our reporter Carly Elijah heard from a journalist who's posted in Ukraine now. She has more on what it's like for civilians on the ground.
I think I just heard the air raid siren going off outside, but at this point it goes off like pretty often.
That's Isabel Kershudian, a Washington Post writer and photographer, currently posted in Odessa, Ukraine. Students in Professor Andy Burns' journalism class had the chance to speak with Isabel Monday to hear firsthand what a journalist is doing in an active war zone.
It's so weird, but you get used to war if you live here.
5-year-old Diana celebrated her birthday in a bunker. Her birthday cake was an orange with a candle, and the only gift her parents could afford was a Kinder Egg. Isabel explained how she came across Diana and her family.
Started like calling over to me, like sort of yelling over for me to come over. She's like, I have a 5-year-old girl here who's, celebrating her birthday downstairs. Like, this is, why don't you talk to us? Like,
Isabel was a Moscow correspondent before the war began.
This is cool. I remember her saying she wanted to do the sports because she knew there were a lot of Russians that played hockey, and it would give her a chance to get to Russia because she wanted to be a Russian correspondent.
And her time in Russia has highlighted how different Russian media is.
I'll put it this way, most of Russian society is like pretty apolitical. They don't like really pay attention to like the day-to-day. And they don't feel like they have the ability to change anything. There isn't this like, protest culture there. I would get this question a lot of like, oh, do your bosses tell you what to write? Or, well, you have to push this narrative from the United States. And it's like, no, it's not really how it works. Like,
Isabel plans to stay in Odessa as long as possible. She's in a city increasingly targeted by Russia, aiming to take more control of the Black Sea region. It's likely she'll have to evacuate soon to nearby Poland, but for now, she's doing what she can to educate readers on what's going on and shed light on this invasion. For Carolina News, I'm Carly Elijah.
Tomorrow, Richard Moore will have to choose how he wishes to end his life. Our reporter Carly Elijah is live at the Richland County Courthouse with more. Carly?
Thanks, Basharia. Richard Moore was sentenced to death in 1999 following the deadly shooting of a store clerk in Spartanburg County. And Moore is one of 3 South Carolina death row inmates who are currently out of appeals. That leads to today's ruling, where the Honorable Judge Jocelyn Newman dismissed Moore's lawsuit for conjunctive relief. 23 years after his 1999 sentencing, Moore's looming execution date is now in doubt. His legal team's argument that the firing squad and electric chair are in violation of the state's constitution on the grounds of cruel and unusual punishment can now move forward. Much of the hearing revolved around the definition of cruel, unusual, and corporal punishment, and whether the electric chair and firing squad fit those terms.
The state Supreme Court has told us repeatedly that we are supposed to interpret the Constitution as the framers and the ratifiers intended it to mean.
We will not tolerate a method of execution that mutilates the body by charring the flesh, cooking and destroying the internal organs, leaving the shaving corpse marred with burns and bruises, regardless of how well the executioners carry it out.
However, this does not stop the execution date scheduled for April 29th, now just 15 days away. A separate ruling will be heard by the South Carolina State Supreme Court to delay Moore's execution. Only 3 executions via firing squad have taken place since 1973, and only 2% of executions since 2010 have been by electric chair. As per South Carolina law, Moore has until tomorrow to decide whether he'd like to die via firing squad or electric chair. But Moore's attorneys hope that the execution will be postponed as the South Carolina Supreme Court examines whether any current available means of execution are even considered constitutional. In front of the Richland County Courthouse, for Carolina News, I'm Carly Elijah. Back to you, Masharia and Paige.